My beloved child, God is reaching for your heart today because He sees the confusion you've been carrying in silence. He sees the love you feel, the longing you try to hide, and the questions you whisper when no one else is around. You've been asking why a man who clearly cares for you, who shows affection, who gives you pieces of his soul in ways he doesn't give to anyone else, still keeps another woman in his circle. You've wondered why he can look at you with eyes that feel like honesty and tenderness, yet still allow someone else to stay close enough to create doubt. You feel the contradiction, the tension, the mystery, and God says He understands every emotion rising inside you, because nothing you feel is random. Nothing you're experiencing is meaningless. God sees what you cannot yet see, and today He wants to speak directly into that fog around your heart. He wants you to understand that this situation is not meant to break you or belittle you. It is meant to reveal something about you, about Him, and about the path God is guiding you through. You think this situation is happening to you, but God says it's happening for you. It's shaping your discernment, awakening your perception, and sharpening the part of you that can sense truth even when words are soft and intentions are unclear. You've grown so much already. God has been watching the way you've moved through these feelings with dignity. Even when you were hurting, you didn't lash out. You didn't lose your character. You didn't let jealousy take over your spirit. Instead, you came to God with your questions. And that alone is proof of how far you've come. God wants you to know this. He is in love with you. His heart leans toward you in ways He struggles to explain. You have a presence that quiets His mind and awakens His soul. You bring Him peace and warmth He doesn't find anywhere else. There's a softness in you that draws Him, a strength in you that steadies Him, and a depth in you that scares Him because He has never found someone who feels this familiar and this powerful at the same time. He feels something with you He didn't expect. And that unexpected feeling is where His confusion comes from. He didn't plan for this connection, but He can't resist it. He knows He cares, He knows He wants you, and yet a part of Him still holds on to something old, someone who represents comfort, familiarity, or unresolved history. It's not about love, it's about a piece of His past He hasn't fully released. God wants you to hear this carefully. Her presence in His life does not diminish His feelings for you. She is not competition for your worth. She is not a reflection of your value. She is simply a lingering chapter He hasn't closed, not because she is better, not because He wants her more, but because humans often hold on to what is familiar even when their soul is being pulled toward something new and divine. Some people stay in our lives not because they belong, but because we haven't yet processed why we kept them. And that is His struggle. He is standing between what He knows and what He feels. Between who He used to be and who He could become. Between comfort and calling. Between the past and the future, God is stirring inside him. You've been worried that her presence means he doesn't love you strongly enough. But God says that is not the truth. His heart is leaning toward you more than you realize. But love, real love, does not only involve emotion, it involves alignment. It involves courage. It involves clarity. It involves choosing the future over the past. And that is where God is working on him right now. God is not exposing this situation to hurt you, he is exposing it so you can understand what is being transformed behind the scenes. You're not waiting because he's confused, you're waiting because God is aligning him. There is a difference. God also wants to speak something to your spirit. You have been blaming yourself for his hesitation, as if your love wasn't enough, as if you were lacking something, as if you were somehow competing with a shadow of another woman. But God says stop blaming yourself for someone else's unfinished inner work. His journey is his journey. His healing is his healing. His clarity is his clarity. Your worth has never been the issue. Your purity, your sincerity, your loyalty, your energy, these are not the problem. In fact, these are the very reasons he is drawn to you, the reasons he is fighting his own confusion, the reasons he is struggling to let go of the past. You awakened something in him he didn't know he was missing. The reason she is still around is not because she has his heart. It's because she has his history. And history is heavy. History is tricky. History can blur the lines. But history cannot overpower destiny. When God writes a connection, no past attachment can override it. God isn't telling you to compete. God isn't telling you to prove anything. God isn't telling you to fight for position. He is telling you to stay grounded in who you are. Because when the truth rises, and it will reveal who was meant to stay and who was only meant to pass through. There are things God is doing inside him that you cannot see yet. He is being confronted with decisions he can't postpone anymore. He is being shown the contrast between what drains him and what heals him. He is being shown the difference between obligation and genuine emotion, between comfort and true connection, between attachment and love. God is showing him your worth through his own longing. He feels your absence more deeply than he admits. He feels your silence more loudly than your words. He feels a pull toward you that goes beyond attraction. And that pull is God's fingerprint. But God wants to speak to you too, not about him, but about you. Because while God is working on him, he is also shaping you for the love you deserve. You've given so much emotionally in your life. You've poured into people who didn't pour back. You've loved with sincerity, even when others loved you with confusion. And now, God is elevating your expectations, raising your standards, and preparing your heart for something mature, intentional, and secure. This is why God is not letting you settle. This is why He lets you feel discomfort when something isn't aligned. This is why He keeps giving you spiritual whispers when something is off. Your spirit has become too sensitive to tolerate half-hearted love. You've prayed for a love that is real, steady, and mutual. A love that doesn't hide. A love that doesn't leave you wondering. A love that doesn't require guessing games. And because you prayed for that, God cannot allow a situation where someone comes to you half-ready. God will not let you be loved by someone who is still emotionally divided. God will not allow you to carry the weight of someone else's indecision. That is why this tension exists, not to hurt you, but to protect you. God is saying, "You asked me for love. I cannot answer that prayer with confusion." Still, God knows your heart. You care for Him deeply. You see goodness in Him. You see potential. You see a future. You see what the connection could become if He stepped fully into it. And God is not dismissing that. He is not telling you to walk away from what He Himself planted. He is simply telling you to hold your value while He cleans up the parts of His life that are not aligned with you. God is not separating you, He is preparing both of you. That other woman, the one still around, is not a threat. She is a test. Not a test for you, but a test for Him. A test of His evolution. A test of His loyalty. A test of His maturity. A test of His willingness to walk away from what no longer serves His soul. She is the echo of who He was, not the reflection of who He is becoming. And God is requiring Him to choose. Not between you and her, but between past and future, between fear and courage, between temporary comfort and divine alignment. God wants you to stay steady. To stay calm. To stay rooted. Not passive, but peaceful. Not silent, but wise. Not withdrawn, but grounded. Your strength is not in chasing clarity. Your strength is in trusting that God will reveal truth the moment it needs to be seen. When a man's heart is truly turning toward you, God will make it undeniable. When a man is meant for you, confusion eventually dissolves. When a connection is God-ordained, no interference can block it. Not another woman. Not old emotions. Not fear. Not hesitation. God is saying, "I am not finished writing this story." The part you're in feels uncertain, but uncertainty is where God often does His greatest work. You are not losing anything. You are not being replaced. You are not being overlooked. You are being positioned. You are being refined. You are being readied for love that does not shake, He is in love with you. But he is also being refined. And God wants you to let the process unfold without sacrificing your peace. You don't need to fight for someone who is already being drawn toward you. You don't need to convince someone who already feels the pull. You don't need to fear someone else's presence when God Himself is guiding this man's heart. Your role right now is simple: stay aligned. Stay soft, stay wise, stay observant, stay faithful to your own worth. When the time is right, God will bring everything into clarity. He will close doors that were never meant to stay open. He will remove attachments that no longer belong. He will expose intentions, yours, his, and hers. And when He does, you will understand why this chapter looked messy, confusing, and slow. Because what God is building takes time. But what God builds cannot fall apart. God wants to take you deeper now, into the part of the story you rarely speak about out loud, the part where your heart wonders if you're being prepared for something real or protected from something painful. You've asked God quietly, if He's meant for me, why doesn't this feel simple? Why does she still exist in the background of his life? Why do I feel like I'm waiting for him to step into the man I already see inside him? And God says He has heard every one of those questions. Not one has been ignored. Not one has been dismissed. You have poured out your heart in silence, and heaven has been listening. There is something within you that knows He belongs in your story, even if the timing isn't aligned yet. You don't feel this way because of fantasy or desire. You feel this because the connection was spiritually awakened, not emotionally imagined. You feel this because your soul recognized His before your mind understood it. You feel this because God placed an unexplainable softness in your heart toward Him that doesn't happen with just anyone. But even with that spiritual knowing, God does not let you bypass the process. He loves you too much to give you a relationship that enters your life unfinished, unclarified, and unstable, and that's why God is allowing the tension with the other woman to be visible, not to make you insecure, but to make you wise. Not to make you jealous, but to make you discerning. Not to make you afraid, but to make you spiritually awake. Because God knows this, the way a man navigates his distractions reveals the truth of his intentions. His choices in this season are not just about her, they're revealing how prepared he is to love you the way you deserve. His hesitations are showing you where healing is still needed. His attachments are showing you what still needs to be released. His inner conflict is showing you how deeply he is being transformed, and God says you are not meant to carry his transformation on your back. You are not responsible for fixing the parts of him he refuses to confront. You are not meant to compete with someone who represents his past. Your job is not to erase her, your job is to honor yourself. Because when you honor who you are, you give God permission to handle everything that is interfering with your peace. He is not asking you to fight for a position. He is asking you to hold your dignity. He is asking you to remain untouched by the chaos around him. He is asking you to be the place of clarity in a season where he is wrestling with confusion. God is doing something in your spirit too, something you may not fully recognize yet. You are being strengthened in areas you once felt fragile. You are learning how to value your presence without needing constant reassurance. You are learning how to remain centered even when love feels uncertain. You are learning how to stay emotionally grounded while someone else figures out their own heart. This is not the version of you from your past, the one who would have chased answers, begged for clarity, or allowed someone's silence to convince you that you were unworthy. No. This is the elevated you. The you God has been building. The you who has boundaries. The you who has self-respect. The you who doesn't collapse just because someone else is confused. And God is proud of the quiet strength you are carrying. You don't even realize how much you've grown. You don't see how far you've come. God sees it. Heaven sees it. The man whose heart leans toward you feels it too, even if he can't put it into words. What you don't know is this: he is thinking about you more deeply than you imagine. Even in the moments when he seems distant, even in the moments when he retreats into his own mind, even when he goes silent because he doesn't know how to explain what he feels, your presence is still inside his thoughts. You have become a reference point for everything he's comparing in his life. He notices the difference between peace and noise now. He notices the difference between what builds him and what drains him. He notices how your energy feels safe, genuine, and real. And he notices how the other woman makes him feel obligated, nostalgic, or pressured, but not fulfilled. God is softening him, revealing the truth through contrast. The more he interacts with her, the more he realizes it's no longer aligned. The more he thinks about you, the more he feels drawn to something deeper. God is showing him what cannot continue and what he cannot lose. And though he may not have acted yet, the stirring inside him is real. God is not letting him get comfortable in old patterns. He is not allowing him to settle for something that no longer matches his growth. God is revealing uncomfortable truths to him, truths he can no longer avoid, but God is also protecting you. Because if God allowed him to run toward you without clarity, without closure, without emotional maturity, he would bring chaos into your life. He would carry unresolved emotions into your connection. He would create confusion unintentionally. And God is not willing to let your heart be harmed by someone who hasn't completed the steps required for divine alignment. You prayed for a love that is safe. A love that is intentional. A love that is clear. A love that is mutual. And God is preparing that, Even if it looks messy right now, you have wondered if you should walk away completely. You have wondered if holding space is foolish. You have wondered if you are giving too much energy to someone who isn't fully choosing you yet. And God says, you are not waiting for a man. You are waiting for my timing. There's a difference. If this man were never part of your story, God would have removed your feelings long ago. He would have hardened your heart toward him. He would have shown you red flags you couldn't ignore. He would have allowed the connection to fade. But God didn't do that. Instead, He kept the connection alive. He kept the alignment steady. He kept the spiritual tug between you both. That is not an accident, but God will also not allow the wrong woman to remain in a place she does not belong. Her presence is temporary. Her influence is fading. Her chapter is closing. She is part of a season he is outgrowing, not part of the future God is building for him. And you do not need to worry about her. What is meant for you cannot be held by someone else. What belongs to your future cannot become someone else's story. God is not asking you to fear, He is asking you to trust, and trust does not mean waiting forever. Trust means staying spiritually aligned long enough to allow God to reveal the truth. Trust means believing that clarity is coming, not through anxiety, but through divine timing. Trust means knowing that your worth does not decrease because someone else is still in the picture. Trust means remembering that love rooted in God will always find a way to reach you, so breathe. Stay present. Stay strong. Stay clear, the story is not done, your heart is not wrong, the connection is not imagined. God is still working. God is bringing you to this message, where everything becomes clear, where the lessons come together, where the path straightens, where your heart finally understands what your spirit has sensed all along. You've walked through confusion, hope, longing, doubt, and deep spiritual awareness in this journey, and God wants you to know, none of it was wasted. Every emotion you felt carried a purpose. Every moment of uncertainty sharpened your intuition. Every tear softened your heart in the right direction. And every whisper from God was guiding you toward truth, even when you didn't realize it. This entire situation, the love, the hesitation, the other woman, the emotional tension, has been a spiritual unfolding. God wasn't just revealing Him to you, He was revealing you to you. You have discovered parts of yourself you didn't know were there. You realized how patient you can be without losing your self-respect. You realized how deeply you can love without losing your boundaries. You realized how connected you are spiritually, how aware, how intuitive, how sensitive to the slightest shifts in energy. You realized you don't settle anymore. You realized you don't chase clarity, you attract it by staying rooted in truth, and now, God brings you to the place where He speaks the deepest truth. You were never in competition. You were never second. You were never an option. You were always the blessing God was preparing him for. Her presence in his life was never a threat to your worth, it was a mirror for his growth. She reflected the version of him that belonged to his past. You reflect the version of him God is calling him to become. And that is why God kept you steady through this whole season, because the connection between you and him was never meant to be rushed, forced, or corrupted by insecurity. God wanted it to be built on clarity, not confusion. On truth, not fear. On alignment, not pressure. The reason you felt so deeply for him is because there is a divine thread connecting your hearts. You didn't attach out of desperation, you recognized his soul. You saw something real in him, something sacred. Something meant for you. And he felt that too. Even if he tried to hide it, even if he tried to pretend he didn't, even if his actions were slow or uncertain, his heart kept returning to you. Not because he was obligated. Not because you demanded it. But because God kept his spirit drawn toward yours. In the moments when he distanced himself, he felt the absence of your energy more intensely than you could ever know. In the moments when he interacted with the other woman, he felt the mismatch more clearly than he admitted. In the moments when he reflected on his future, your presence kept surfacing in his mind, soft and undeniable. You are not simply a person in his life. You are a shift in his spirit. That is why he cannot walk away. That is why he cannot forget you. That is why he cannot replace you. You represent a future that God aligned for him, and alignment cannot be undone by hesitation. But here is where the final revelation settles into your heart. God needed him to choose you with full clarity, not half certainty. God needed him to step toward you without shadows, without comparisons, without hidden attachments. God needed him to approach you as a man who knows what he wants, not a man escaping what he fears. God is preparing him to love you in a way that honors your heart, not confuses it. He is preparing him to step into the relationship as a protector, not a wanderer. As a man of intention, not indecision, you may not see everything God is doing behind the scenes, but heaven is rearranging his life. The emotional bonds that once held him are weakening. The attachments that cluttered his clarity are dissolving. The other woman's place in his story is fading because it was never meant to be permanent. God is closing that chapter gently but firmly, so that no residue remains when he steps toward you. Because God knows your heart needs someone who comes without emotional fragments trailing behind, and God also knows this. You are not meant to share a man's heart. You are meant to be chosen completely. You are meant to be loved wholly. You are meant to be honored without hesitation. That is why God is removing everything that could interfere with the purity of what he is building between you and this man. There is a reason the truth has taken time. There is a reason the alignment is slow. There is a reason God asked you to trust instead of chase. He is not just preparing a relationship, He is preparing a union, something that carries purpose, depth, and destiny. You have been patient in ways others would not understand. You have stayed spiritually grounded even when your emotions were tested. You have kept your dignity even when confusion tried to shake it. And because of that, what God is bringing you into will be worth every moment of waiting. What you didn't know is that God has been speaking to his heart quietly. He has been nudging him, softening him, awakening him to the truth of what he feels for you. He has been showing him signs, dreams, reminders, synchronicities, pulling his spirit toward you until he can no longer ignore it. And soon, very soon, he will reach a moment where he can't run from the truth anymore. The truth that he chooses you. The truth that he wants you. The truth that you are the woman who brings him peace, clarity, and purpose. The truth that his heart is safest with you. God wants you to hold on to this. Nothing that is meant for you will ever pass you by. Not in love, not in timing, not in destiny. And this man, this connection, this bond, this pull, has been protected by God in ways you do not even realize. What looked complicated was actually being purified. What looked uncertain was being aligned. What looked delayed was being prepared. The final message God wants to place in your heart is this: you will not lose what is meant for you. You will not be replaced. You will not be overlooked. You will not be left behind. The woman still around him is not the ending of your story. It's the ending of hers. You are the beginning of something new, something real, something God touched. Your patience has been seen. Your love has been noticed. Your heart has been protected, and when God reveals the full truth, when everything becomes clear, when his heart chooses openly, when the confusion dissolves, you will look back at this season and understand that God didn't make you wait to hurt you. He made you wait so he could give you something you would never have to question again.